Back in 2020, I was staying at a sober living after completing a 5-month rehab program. This was all part of a first offender deal I agreed to after getting pulled over on my 19th birthday and blowing a .2. Things were obviously not going great in my life, but after rehab, I felt like I was back on my feet proper. It was this confidence that led me to join in on buying some LSD with a few friends I had made in the sober living. I had done acid twice before, but hadn't experienced anything meaningful or life-changing like my friends and many others. So I was hoping, while in this positive and transformative period of my life, I'd get some kind of insight this time around. In reality, I was still totally mentally unsuitable to be taking psychedelics. I was in denial about how low my mental state was because if 5 months of rehab didn't get the job done, then I felt I was beyond repair. This is the short setup to the most terrifying night of my life. I gave one of my 2 friends, we'll call him C, $20 for 2 tabs. My other friend J did the same, and C went to pick it up. We had a solid plan for the night, and my 2 trip partners were very experienced, so I had high hopes. We all took our tabs as soon as C got back and sat down for a card game. About an hour or so in, and things are going great. The card game quickly becomes too confusing and funny to continue, so we move on to step 2 of the plan. A walk to the park. It's around midnight and in the low 40s, so we grab our jackets and prepare to leave. I'm the first one outside, and it's now when something unnerving first started to creep over me. I look up and see a helicopter in the distance and can't help but think that I've been in a car accident and that's a life flight going to pick me up. There's this terrible sense of déjà vu, and then my friends come outside and I snap out of it. We get to the park and stop at C's car to grab a blanket and speaker. Why he always left his car at the park rather than at the house is another story. But it came in handy for the time being. The park was at the top of a hill surrounded by otherwise flat terrain, so the view was incredible. We set up in the middle of a grass field and listened to music for maybe an hour or so. I can't remember if anything happened to start it, but I was suddenly very concerned for another guy back at the house. One of my friends said something about him, and I remember asking if he was all right and if we should go check on him. This part is all very foggy. But I distinctly remember feeling deceived. I felt like there was something I had to do urgently, and someone was trying to keep me from finding out what that was. I felt like my life depended on it. Next, I remember us packing up and heading to the car. The walk back was quiet and somewhat tense. I'm guessing because of my odd behaviour, but I really can't remember much from the park. C gets in the driver's seat. I'm in the front passenger, and J is in the back. I put on some music and we start driving. As we get further from the park, something tells me we're going the wrong way. So I point C to a turn, and he says we shouldn't go that way because police sit along that road and at this hour the way we're going is faster anyway. Now something is screaming that this is all wrong. I have no idea what, but I'm in serious danger, and I need to do something now. I put my right arm on the door and my left hand on my seatbelt buckle and get ready to jump. C comes up to a slight left curve and I make my move. As fast as possible, I undo my seatbelt and open the door. I throw my arms in front of me and lunge for the opening. But C grabs my jacket collar. For a moment, I'm hanging out the car door, jerking my body forward to try and break free. I quickly unzip my jacket and slip out, finally falling out of the car. All I remember from this part is being amazed at how hard the pavement was and how quickly I came to a stop. I'm laying on my stomach, face touching the asphalt, staring at the rear lights of C's car a few yards in front of me. I push myself up, and I'm happy to find that I can walk. I took a quick look over myself. My palms and forearms are scraped to shit. I can tell from the bloodstains that my knees and left shin are likely in similar shape, but I don't think anything is broken. The driver's side door swings open, and C jumps out, with his hands on top of his head running towards me. I'm sure he was saying something like, "Holy shit, are you okay? What the fuck is wrong with you?" But I was still fully in fight or flight and couldn't hear anything. I turn and start running. This is when I notice I've lost my shoes. The pain of jumping out a moving car is also catching up to me. So my run slows quite a bit as I turn a corner around an apartment. I see that across the street there's a ditch, and I'm pretty sure I can run and jump into it before C rounds the corner. So in my frantic state, I don't think twice and muster everything I have, run over and jump in. I'm leaning too far forward when I jump, so I land flat on my stomach and find myself, again, sprawled out on the concrete. The drop knocked the wind out of me, and I think I hit the side of my head pretty hard as well. From this point on, I was alone. I found out later that C thought he saw a cop and got back in the car pretty soon after I ran. When I had recovered enough to move, I made my way up the other side of the ditch and found myself at a chain-link fence, looking into the back lot of a mechanic. Next thing I know, I'm standing inside the lot, pulling on the handle of one of the car doors. I'm covered in blood and dirt. I also don't have my sweatpants on anymore. Looking around, I'm not sure how I got in, since the fence is topped with barbed wire and I don't see an opening anywhere. I walk to a pickup truck parked by the fence and climb into the bed. I look up at the wire. For a moment I consider jumping into it to try and get out, but for the first time in I don't know how long, a logical thought pops into my head. I realise, like a frightened animal in a trap, the more I thrash around, the more I'm going to hurt myself. I carefully get down and walk over to the back door of the mechanic and sit against the wall. With just socks, underwear, and a long-sleeve shirt, I sat there shivering for quite some time, thinking about what had just happened. Finally, this old Mexican guy, God bless him, walks out of the garage and sees me sitting there covered in dirt and cuts, half naked, probably looking like death. He yells, "Holy damn!" before running inside to call an ambulance and grab me a blanket. From there on, I was pretty lucid again, but exhausted and in a lot of pain. I went to the hospital and amazingly walked away with only cuts and bruises, some stitches, a concussion, and a sprained ankle. The manager of the sober living wouldn't find out, but I decided it was probably best for me to leave. At the end of the day, I hadn't truly decided I was done with the alcohol, so I slipped back into heavy drinking shortly after. Thankfully, this wild story doesn't end on that thought, and I want anyone struggling with addiction to really listen to this part. In 1 month, I'll be a full year sober for the first time in 7 years, and today my college nominated me for the National Society of Leadership and Success. I'm studying to become a paralegal, and maybe a lawyer one day. Anyone can make changes in their life. If you're in a bad place, I assure you that one day you'll be able to look back on today and smile at how far you made it. Stay safe, everyone.